This podcast exists for informational purposes only. It is not intended to provide medical advice. It exists only to entertain. An unusual gentleman enters the apothecary in 15th century Germany. Once again.
Hello there, and welcome to... Oh, no. You again.
Hey, how's it going?
Sir, as I mentioned the other day, when you bought the surgeon's blood, no refunds.
I don't need a refund. The blood worked. Do you want to know what I used it for?
Oh, no. Most definitely not.
Okay, well, I need a different medicine.
Oh, fine, I suppose. What are you looking for this time?
You know how I told you about my band, right?
Yes. How could I forget?
You remember the band's name?
Something inappropriate, as I recall?
We are syphilis section.
Ah, yes. The excellent combination of syphilis and dissection. Really catchy.
Yeah, well, I think I have syphilis now.
But unfortunate, maybe ironic? I forget the definition.
You should see the ulcers on my...
No, I should not. What medicine will get you out of here the fastest?
Oh, okay. Well, I went to my doctor.
Yeah?
And he said I have a fever.
Yeah?
And the only prescription is...
Oh no, please don't do this.
more heavy metal.
Wow, that was really something, that moment we just had.
So I'm here to buy Mercury. It's for my syphilis.
Yeah, I know. Here you go.
Thanks, man. I can't wait to drink this.
At least it's unlikely to do more harm to you, from what I can tell.
You want to come to my show tonight? I can get you backstage. We can party.
No, nein, definitely not. Thank you.
I can show you my loot.
Yet even more no. Bye-bye now, time to go.
Okay, that's cool. We're still friends, bye.
No, not friends, you're just my customer. You can't just... Ugh. Well, he left. I don't think he heard me. Strange man. Beautiful long hair, though.
Yes.
Poor historians, poor historians. We look at cases throughout history. It's just Max in there and Mike and me. You gotta listen, you don't have to read. Poor historians, poor historians, poor historians.
Welcome, everyone. This is Poor Historians, a podcast delving into the archives of medical history. As three emergency physicians, we will explore the unusual ailments, treatments, physicians, and all related material having to do with the healing arts. I'm Max, and I am joined here by my good friends and colleagues, Aaron and Mike. Gentlemen, what bodily fluid do you hate the most?
Yeah, that's tracheostomy secretions for me.
Ew.
Yeah, those are the worst. I cannot handle those.
I believe the scientific term is lung butter.
Yep.
Ew.
Yep. Or lung juice, but it's chunky if it's juice. It's like there's a lot of pulp in there. Oof.
Yeah, it's gross.
Can't.
It's actually, you stole my answer. That is mine too. That is the only thing. Like if I have a cold and I cough and I just feel
Ugh.
that come up,
Just-
like you get those little impromptu snacks throughout the day.
Mhm.
They almost
That's-
always make me want to vomit. I don't understand coughing them out of your mouth because that makes me retch.
Yeah. Now imagine just
So you just swallow 'em?
never-ending font.
I just
Yeah.
eat them because that way.
Yeah. Then they don't get into your mouth.
My God, you guys, I'm starting to like legitimately feel nauseous.
Look
Nice.
crazy.
But you don't chew them, do you?
No, you try to avoid getting them to the front of your tongue where
Yeah.
all the extra taste buds are.
You get them to the back of the tongue where you got your bitter and your sweet.
Just stop.
Speaking of which,
Oof.
Mike, what's your least favorite?
It's vomit.
No, you're gonna puke right now and be really sad about it.
No,
Yeah,
but like
that's-
I've no.
I don't know. Jeez. Poor guy.
Oh, don't
Ugh.
have sympathy for Mike.
I'm a sympathy puker, as we
Yeah.
mentioned on our previous episode.
It has a weird superpower.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting you ask least favorite fluid, though, because I mean, I have a longstanding campaign that we should simplify medical terminology and just call every fluid the place it came from plus juice, and then we'd be done. Just
Stomach
lung
juice.
or stomach juice or
Petition the AMA for that. Maybe we can get it changed. Shout outs. So, thanks again to the Drunk Wisconsin History Podcast. We were on their show back on April 17th. That was their 100th episode. So, we encourage you to not only check us out on there, but go check out their show. A lot of fun hanging out with those guys and going through a history topic where our two genres collided. And we will be having them on hopefully here in the near future. So, look out for that. Second shout out has to do with the kind of the topic of today's show, and that being shout out to Dr. Lydia King and Nate Peterson, who wrote Quackery, A Brief History of the Worst Ways to Cure Everything. My wife gave me this book as a potential source of topics for this show, and it came through nicely. So I did use the Mercury chapter as a nice foundation for this episode, and I want to make sure that anybody listening to this knows where it came from so they can go out and buy this book. Very easily readable, fun, funny, good stuff. The last bit here, everybody out there, please let everybody know about the show. Leave us some reviews. Do all those things. Help us keep growing. We are enjoying this quite a bit, and we need your help to do so. So every little bit you do helps. Posting, reposting, tweetering, all those things. Just keep it up. So, gentlemen, you know what babies don't need?
Milk.
Preschool education.
Mercury.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
We don't give medical advice on the show, but I will tell you, don't give mercury.
You're gonna go out on a limb here? Go out on a limb.
Going on a limb. Now, there was definitely a time in history where they sure got a lot of it. And we're not talking like debunked vaccine conspiracy theory type mercury. That's usually thimerosal. That's not really the mercury. That's a whole other topic, though. And so we're not talking about vaccine preservatives. We are talking about giving basically biologically active mercury to kids and babies. And there was a time when we did it. We're going to talk about that. We are talking liquid metal mercury as a medication, although somewhat disguised, but we'll get there. So
why did they do this? Let's go find the worst stuff to give the baby.
Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you, Aaron. So this was often, especially in the 1920s, found in teething powders. So mercury-based teething powders were very much a thing. In the Quackery book I had mentioned, there was even a couple of advertisements displayed that included things like a substance called tithena, like teeth-ena, that would, quote, make a baby as fat as a pig. And it had a really creepy picture of just that next to it. But the idea was it was, baby. Oh yeah, big fat baby. The idea was give them the powder, and it will help with teething as well as other things.
There's something
I have no idea how that would work.
There's something really pleasing about a chunky baby. That's it's true when they start to they seem healthy at a certain age, but I don't advise mercury for that purpose.
I'm still waiting to lose that baby fat I had.
Yeah, me too.
Brown adipose tissue.
Stubborn.
Yeah. So look, don't give your baby mercury. I'm just going to say it again. It did, however, take until the 1950s to start saying that's probably a bad thing from the medical community. And if you thought people were like breaking thermometers, take the mercury out and like splash it on their baby. Nope, not exactly. We're going to talk about something here called calomel. You guys ever heard this before? I think we've cursorily mentioned it on an earlier episode.
Yeah, maybe have run into this in some ancient descriptions of stuff that people did.
Yeah. So if you're weird like me and you do sometimes peruse really old medical journals for fun, calomel comes up a lot, used it for a lot. And basically there's mention of this substance going back to 850 Common Era. Apparently
is that what that stands for? The CE?
Yeah. Common Era.
Yep.
The equivalent to AD.
Okay. Yeah, what's the reason for using that? Is that like for
I think it's sort of to try to divorce the calendar and study of history from one specific religion.
Yep. It went from AD, which is Anno Domini, right? Year of our Lord, I think. No.
So, but
Anno Domini. Wait, Anno Anus? So many.
I think it
Dominate
was
anus.
Anno
Dominant.
like year.
We've been dominating anuses for over 2,000 years.
That joke probably doesn't make it in.
Come on.
Okay.
That's pretty on
Come
brand. I mean, come on.
All right, fine. Anywho, so ancient Persian medical texts actually mention its use. And in Western medicine, it kind of gets adopted as early as 1608, where there was initial mention of making the calomel powder. It remained a pretty readily used medication from the 17th through the 20th centuries. So with that, calomel comes as a white powder, and essentially...
Are you supposed to mix it with peanut butter or chocolate and calomel?
I think they just mixed it with water, to be honest, and just put it, I guess, in your baby's bottle. I did not look for specific instructions. But the chemical formula is mercury and chlorine. So it's basically mercury chloride, I think, is the official way to say it. I'm not going to claim to remember most of the general chemistry that I once knew beyond my college classwork, but I feel like those are two substances you don't want to ingest, whether or not you're a baby.
Drink pool water and crack open your thermometer.
That is the official stance of this show. So why did they think any of this worked? Well, it's a hell of a cathartic. And by cathartic, I mean generally that those are terms used for medications that cause you to purge or eliminate everything from the bowels. And this was a thing that doctors loved in this time. They loved having a good bowel movement, an explosive bowel movement, and then that feeling of healing that comes over you after it has occurred. I don't know, gentlemen. Do you have any fond memories of experiencing catharsis? I should. Well, since you asked, I do.
Okay.
So I was hanging out with my buddy Sam back in the day, and I wonder if he listens to this show. I should find out. Anywho, I had an upset stomach. We were, I think, playing cards or something, and Sam comes from a very Italian family, and so they had his medicine go-to was something called broshi. You guys ever had this?
No.
If you look, it's usually, you can find it at a regular pharmacy. It comes in like a blue bottle. It's a bunch of essentially like sodium bicarbonate acid crumbles. I guess I don't know how else to put it. And you just like, you dump whatever quantity. I don't remember if officially measuring this very well, but he's like, oh yeah, just use this. It'll work. It's what we do all the time. And so, all right, fine. So I poured it into a glass and it effervesces like Alka-Seltzer and drank it. And I was like, yeah, well,
that's how you know it's
my
good
stomach
for you.
did feel better.
That's
Yeah,
how
I
the
mean,
medicine
it
works.
actually did work. What I didn't realize is that considering all the stuff in it, if you take a fair amount of it, it does increase your intestinal motility. And so within about 2 hours, I was purged of all the evil. I don't know if it did seem to help my stomach, but then I just wanted to go home.
You know, I mean, Qdoba is, I think, a modern, powerful cathartic. It's just,
Really? I don't feel that at all.
No.
More so than Taco Bell?
Pretty Taco Bell is the gold standard of cathartics.
It's really just Diarrhea USA.
It's especially the bean burrito. I mean, it looks essentially, if you open it, it's about the same going in as it is going out.
Or the Chupa Falupa or whatever it is.
And we are not getting sponsored by Taco Bell.
No, we're definitely not. But I enjoy Taco Bell, so if you do want to sponsor us.
Did you know you could get a meal plan through Taco Bell where you pay X amount per month and then you can get 2 tacos from every store every day?
What?
So if you wanted to go...
A meal plan? A Taco Bell meal plan?
Yeah, it's like $30 a month.
Is that really a thing?
Yeah.
No.
I was like, I got deep into the bowels of YouTube and there was this guy who's like a deal saver thing. And he's like, here's how you save money on food. And
good to know. All right.
A lot of the places have them.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Wendy's has one where you get a Frosty every day for free. I mean, not for free, but you pay for a subscription.
Right. Subscription services. Stream the Frosties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I could do a Frosty daily. I could see that.
You could do Taco Bell and you could stream your stool every day.
Speaking of which, returning to the word itself, calomel. It is derived from the Greek words kalos, meaning beautiful, and melas, black, referring to its reaction at turning black with the reaction to ammonia. It also apparently turns all of which it purges black. It was taken to purge the bowels, as we mentioned, at a time when, again, doctors really enjoyed that and kind of had this weird fixation on depleting all kinds of fluids from patients. So this was like an era of what was called heroic medicine, which seems strange because the heroic nature of it was just making patients sicker than they needed to be by removing blood and stool and causing them to vomit.
It just lasted a long time too. There are a lot of doctors that are
Took
like,
a
you just
while
need
to
to
figure out that was
purge
bad.
the heck out of your patients.
It is a
I
strange
don't
time.
understand how they
Well,
got to that.
Well, the book Quackery does discuss this, and
But
actually,
real quick,
yeah.
you guys have seen this. With you get somebody with abdominal pain, or usually it's a kidney stone. But what do they always say? I had this intense pain. I tried to take a dump right before I came up, because everybody thinks like you take a dump and then you get better.
I mean, there's a lot of times in the human life that is
Take
true.
a dump.
Like it's got a fair chance of helping.
It's one of the more low-key terrifying symptoms for a patient to mention, right? So if it's a pregnant woman that has to take a dump, you're like, that's not a dump, that's a baby. If it's an older person with abdominal pain, you're like, that's not a dump, that's your aorta. It's if somebody
or the
says
cardiac patient,
you're referring to the urge to go.
Or if somebody, it could be a heart attack. Yes, exactly. Someone's like, I really have to go. You're like, oh shit.
You know what's happening.
Yeah, so something terrible
is happening.
Indeed. Well, so the book, as I mentioned, it actually discusses the career of Dr. Benjamin Rush. You've probably heard of Rush Medical Center and stuff like that down in Chicago. It is named after him. And based on some other reading, I think he probably needs his own episode, or at least deserves a little bit more than here, but we're just going to touch on his life and works. The summary of this is that he was actually a founding father of the U.S. His name's actually on the Declaration of Independence, which
is big time. It's got big time.
Yeah, he lived from 1745 to 1813. He was a pretty progressive dude, actually. He's known for his anti-slavery stances, his anti-death penalty stances, his pro-educating women stances, and like pro-humane treatment of psychiatry patients.
Crazy.
That was novel.
That's craziness.
Indeed. I don't know if that qualifies as a pun, but of course, all of this were pretty maverick ideas for the time, right? Good stuff. But it seems like he wasn't a very good doctor, to be honest. There's comments, even for the time. The Quackery book highlights that Dr. Rush suggested calomel for the treatment of hypochondria. Right? Do you remember hypochondria, like the definition of it?
Yeah, you think you're ill, but you're not, right?
Yeah. So these are like patients that pathologically...
You're worried that, you're worried that you're ill. Something more serious than
correct. So you become fixated on the idea that something's very wrong, even when evidence points to the contrary. So it's like, kind of...
It's scared straight. It's like, I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, I mean, that's kind of his approach, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So in writing about it, Dr. Rush said, quote, Mercury acts in this disease. 1, by abstracting morbid excitement from the brain to the mouth. 2, by removing visceral obstructions. And 3, by changing the cause of our patient's complaints and fixing them wholly upon his sore mouth. The salivation will do more service if it excites some degree of resentment against the patient's physician or friends. I guess give the patient who thinks they're ill a slew of actual symptoms with heavy metal poisoning.
You want to see
ill? To complain about?
I'll show you ill.
I do, however, I like the idea of therapeutic resentment, though. Making patients
it's almost as good as tincture
dislike
of time.
you. Yeah. Make them better. Yes, exactly.
Tincture of time is probably the best medicine.
In a fair amount of time, it kind of is. So, what does mercury poisoning do? Well, we know that thanks to hats. Little sidebar here is there is something called Mad Hatter's disease, also called Mad Hatter syndrome, aka erythemus mercurialis. Erythemus mercurialis?
Yep, that's exactly it.
That's tough. These are
What if there was a hat factory on an isthmus? Would it be Isthmus erythemus mercurialis? No.
A lot of S's. So Mad Hatter's disease, Mad Hatter syndrome, and the one with a lot of S's are all describing a symptom complex that's rife with neurological disorders. And it basically happens because of being exposed to too much mercury. This was common among felt hat makers in Old England. So they used to use mercury to, quote, stabilize the wool, as if wool was radioactive or something, I guess. I'm sure there's more to it, but He stabilized it with mercury. And
in that might have worked. I mean, lead paint is really smooth. I mean, that's why people liked it. It covered things well. And so just has the side effect of being terribly poisonous, kind of like this. So not worth it.
No, absolutely. But, oh, is lead's poisonous?
It's only poisonous if you eat it, right?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's definitely poisonous if you eat it. I'm just not, I don't want to exclude other ways of poisoning.
All right, we'll put don't give your baby mercury or definitely not lead on the old whiteboard here. Okay. They used mercury to stabilize the wool, as I said, and in the felting process, they were basically constantly exposed to mercury vapors. And so rumor has it that the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland is actually a reference to this condition, but there is definitely some debate about that, and it's not clear, not even to Wikipedia.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, the internet doesn't know. It cannot be known. So, with many things capable of poisoning us, dose and exposure matters, and you can see a spectrum of symptoms. So, more mild symptoms of mercury poisoning are going to be things like fatigue, irritability, memory loss, wild dreams, and depression. More serious progression of those symptoms is like muscular weakness, insomnia, and they keep mentioning excessive shyness, which I find fascinating.
Gosh. Oh gosh.
It's over and over again.
Huge.
And that's kind of more of some of the acute, but then chronic, where you're exposed to it more over time, you get all kinds of weird other stuff, like tremors start to occur, psychotic reactions such as hallucinations and delirium, and like even suicidal tendencies are mentioned. So it's really bad, really, really bad, and kind of a wide range of bodily tissues are affected. Another list of those effects also includes red fingers and toes, which kind of sounds fun, right? And red cheeks. It's like vivacious. And then there's sweating, hearing loss, bleeding from the ears and mouth, loss of teeth, hair, and nails. Less vivacious.
Did you say vivacious? Wasn't it this one where we talked about the rosy cheeks of tuberculosis being a fashion trend? Or was that somewhere else? So people would get sick.
I thought it was weight loss too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was, I cannot remember if we did that on an episode, we read about it tangentially, but yes, that was actually a thing.
Oh, man.
It's like the opposite of the heroin chic.
I mean, it's kind of a similar, sort of a similar, unfortunate vibe.
Yeah.
So coming back to Dr. Rush.
See, now you just have a filter to make your fingers red.
It's true. I want the mercury poisoning filter.
Oh my God.
Face is all red.
He's so great.
Fingers
drooling.
all red. Yep. Oh, we're going to come back. Speaking of drooling. So according to Dr. Rush, he loved calomel for its side effects and just causing copious bowel movements and drooling. In fact, this was apparent when Philadelphia was hit by yellow fever, a mosquito-borne infectious illness of the time, or it still exists today, but this occurred in 1793. So according to the book Quackery, some members of the Philadelphia College of Physicians referred to his methods as, quote, murderous, end quote. So that's not good. He was a fan of heroic depletion therapy. So the heroic medicine that we mentioned before, it's all the bits of that are focused on depleting patients. And so he was described as having a fancy for purging and bleeding his already sick patients to the point of death. In fact, the book states that the average fatality rate at that time for yellow fever was 33%. Which is pretty bad. But if you were Dr. Rush's patient, mortality rate was actually 46%. Like golf, a higher score is not better.
Who's the hero in this story? It's heroic deplete. Like who's
the Grim Reaper?
Well, it's like the heroic medicine term. I haven't really dove into that, but I see it come up a lot in the stuff that we look through. And I don't know if it's heroic just because you're doing all these insane measures that then don't work.
It's got it. That interestingly is a carryover as well. I mean, we talk about heroic interventions, and it's just doing a bunch of interventions with a slim chance of success often. So like do everything. So I guess, for the time, all they had was cathartics and bleeding. So doing everything.
They were pushing medical science to the limits that they had.
Yep.
Which was bowel movements and vomiting
and bleeding.
Yeah. Not all heroes are, not every comic book character is as cool as the next. Like you can be Wolverine or you can be
Dr. Rush.
Green Lantern. It's okay, I guess. But anyway.
It's actually not a bad superpower. Like as a villain, but he would be like a mid-tier villain.
Oh,
Like
fair.
he
Exactly. The other
induces-
person.
Yeah,
They
like the
just-
guy.
Like a mid-card wrestler.
Yep, and then you got to fight that guy to get to the boss.
Right.
But then this guy just makes you drool a bunch. You got to figure out how to stop drooling and defeat him.
Well, and emptying your bowels, but into a super suit, like it'd be contained. Like, would you just get kind of like it wouldn't have anywhere to go?
There was definitely one time in like kind of I think high school age we had a debate about the most useless superhuman powers you could think of, and I think one of the best examples was your superhuman power is that you could turn any watch from digital to analog.
Why would that even be a superpower though? That doesn't make any
it's
sense.
useless. It's amazing.
You need to
though.
go back in time and get new friends.
That was the point of the discussion, Mike. We just want to think of the dumbest superhero power. That was
Well,
one.
how
That was
about
one of the leaders.
Inducing
that's a good one.
drooling and
Well, that would
catharsis.
actually be somewhat disabling, though. So, like, that wouldn't be the most useless.
I know, but okay, fine.
All right, so the guy has like a digital watch on his wrist, right? And he needs to know the time immediately. You switch it, and he's got to look at the hand. It's going to delay him at least 3 seconds.
Or,
the whole time.
at that same time, you render them unable to read an analog watch. So then they
Oh.
don't know what time. So you could be the
But
timekeeper.
that makes it more useful.
All right.
The whole
fine.
point is having it
Just
be
induce
useless.
dyslexia.
How about this? How about the power where you can induce catharsis, but you try to take a dump and nothing comes out?
That's tenesmus. That's the medical term for that.
And they just walk
Induced
around all day
tenesmus.
feeling like they've got to take a dump, but they can't.
You know, that's
That
I mean,
would-
it would still be kind of disabling, but it's in the right vein, I think.
Or like rather than inducing vomiting, you just induce nausea. So then these people are worried that they're going to puke all day, but they
Oh,
don't.
that would be disabling for
Yeah,
sure.
that's
You'd
fair.
just
Yeah.
be sitting there kind of curled up in a
I
ball.
think
and
you
never
understand
get
the
really-
spirit of the exercise.
I don't. Let's write a comic book about disgusting medical superheroes.
All right.
Depletion therapy
I'll-
versus
I'll do the
analog
drawings.
man.
They're all going to look like wieners.
Probably true. Drooling from calomel is, for these physicians of the era, a sign that it's working. So one physician mentioned in the book that they suggested dosing it until, quote, 3 pints, end quote, of saliva were eliminated. Kind of like they used to dose
God.
aspirin until your ears were ringing,
Oh,
which is also a
that
sign of
seems like-
aspirin toxicity.
Oh,
I'm very
bad.
visual. I'm picturing
Yeah. Oh,
3.
exactly.
You gonna puke?
Exactly the same reaction.
You didn't say
Oh.
saliva bothered you.
Just keep going.
Did they have
Okay.
special pint glasses for like?
I hope
that?
so. Just a
Oh,
bunch of gooey saliva.
worst. Oh.
So that was
Mike's not gonna make it through the episode. Man. Not gonna make it.
so that was the calomel. So that was like the powderized version. But liquid mercury could also be used as well. So it kind of has that connotation of quicksilver, and I think it's the only metal that is a liquid at room temperature. I'd have to double check that. But you can imagine that the first people who stumbled upon this in the ages probably looked at that and said, that's an incredible substance. That probably does something amazingly beneficial. I mean, it's like drinking silver.
Yeah. Not so.
But you know what? It does not help. Don't drink it. The book discusses that even Abraham Lincoln would take, quote, blue pills containing mercury, licorice root, rosewater, honey, and sugar for his constipation and headaches. I think the modern blue pills are probably more effective and fun.
It probably would have worked out better for him.
I mean, maybe.
In the end, yeah.
Although, have you seen pictures of Mary Lincoln? I don't know if she had a middle name.
Todd.
I have not.
Mary Todd,
She's not a looker?
not a looker.
Well, who was back then? The He apparently always had headaches on this medication and was described as being worse the more he took the pills. And so there was all these accounts of volatile mood swings and depression mixed with rage, insomnia, tremor, and difficulties with his balance and gait, like his ability to walk. So he stopped taking them before he went into the Oval Office because he became aware that they probably weren't helping. And
Yeah, but-
he was right.
But was he
God.
really shy? Was he really?
He was.
shy?
He looked shy. He was
I mean,
gun
he's
shy.
super shy. I mean, he never really made TV appearances. He really did avoid the spotlight.
Painfully
So-
shy. Let me guess. The time portal is acting up yet again.
That's strange. Something's coming on the monitor again.
Knobs, Mike.
Okay.
Yup. Turn the knobs.
Oh, what about pulling that lever?
No, I'm just turning knobs for now.
All right.
As featured in the Medical Council of Philadelphia in 1920, we bring you calomel for kitties. No, not cats, but children. These are the neatest little tablets for children I ever saw, says one physician. These terturates are made from the purest calomel. They're scarcely larger than a granule and more perfect and very attractive.
What's a triturate? And what makes a pill attractive?
Well, they give you a representative sample of caffeinin, highest purity products. Our special introductory offer, $5,000 for $1 postpaid. Tear off this coupon, write your name and address in the margin, and enclose with a dollar bill to Caffeinin Chemical Company, Waverly, Iowa, USA. Mail order Mercury medicine for kids? Nice.
Oh, was that a real ad?
Oh, yeah, it sure was. Check out this picture in the show notes.
More solar flares interfering with the time portal device, Mike.
No. And I don't appreciate your sarcasm. I don't know. It's got to have something to do with the multiverse. Lots of multiverse interference when you wire the calculus circuits to do the motherboard.
I was thinking that probably had something to do with it.
No. Where were we?
Syphilis and heavy metal.
Nice.
So let's talk about syphilis. We definitely need to devote like an entire series of episodes to syphilis because it is so prevalent throughout history. So here we'll just gloss over our little friend.
Syphilis. People glossed over syphilis.
Yeah, everybody had syphilis back then. There was nobody who didn't have syphilis. Syphilis is a sexually transmitted infection caused by the bacteria Treponema pallidum. It can range from like painless sores on your genitals to a lot of painful, swollen, ulcerated lymph nodes all over the place and swollen this and that bits under the skin, and then can actually go dormant and then come up later as like life-ending cardiac, heart disease, and neurologic disease. So it kind of makes sense to be pretty desperate to cure it, especially back in the day. The disease became popular in Europe in the 15th century. Which is kind of a weird way to write that, now that I think about it.
Became popular. Everybody's doing it.
Woohoo! I mean,
have you guys tried syphilis yet? Oh man, it is a blast.
Maybe almost as popular as religious persecution and burning heretics was. At that time, Paracelsus, who is a Swiss physician to be covered in a future episode, no doubt, advocated using mercury, salt, and sulfur to treat all manner of disease since it had both, quote, earthbound and astrological qualities.
Nice. Yeah.
Comes from the stars, baby. Around this time, mercuric chloride, the main ingredient in calomel, had been discovered. And so the fun part is it could dissolve in water and then be absorbed by the body, and in all kinds of fun ways, mucous membranes too. So you can even put it on your skin. The fun part was that it apparently burned when you put it on the skin, but they used to say, quote, it hurts, therefore it works, end quote. So slather it on until you drool, and that syphilis will just, well, it won't go away.
This is punish the sinners.
I honestly don't know that that's the angle they were taking, but it wasn't wrong. There were whole insane mercury-based treatment regimens. The Quackery book describes this accurately as a very messed up spa treatment type deal. Their words. Mercury added to steam baths to generate that healing mercury vapor, steaming chambers where they like put you in a chamber up to your neck and then like lit a fire under it to effervesce mercury inside with you. And there were even fat emulsions full of mercury rubbed all over the body. And you did all this until people were drooling their brains out.
So, on the other hand, if people are shy and drooling, then they're probably not, that'll stop the transmission of the syphilis at least.
I would be shy too if I was just pouring drool all the time. So while apparently mercury can kill some bacteria, if you pour it into a petri dish, it does not readily cure syphilis. Even if it did, the side effects probably outweighed the benefits. It probably also seemed, in some cases, when syphilis goes into dormant mode and moves to its more quiet phase, that it's as if somebody may have been cured around the time they were starting it. And there's some people who do clear an infection on their own anyway. So it's I can kind of understand how they might have thought it was working, but it wasn't really working. The average patient at this time would have to undergo mercury treatments for the rest of their life as they descended into madness from either the infection or the treatment for the infection. They were at that point drooling and apparently excessively shy on top of it. As quoted in the book, a common saying at the time, casting shade at the also oldest profession on earth, Mike.
Nursing.
Callback. The that profession, which was frequently a transmission result of syphilis, was, quote, a night with Venus and a lifetime with Mercury. End quote.
Got it. Yeah. Keep
It's
it
clever.
in there. Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah,
Keep the Greek gods theme, right?
Absolutely. I don't know. I, for one, am quite glad that this is one of those conditions that still responds to penicillin. So don't treat your syphilis with mercury.
Treat it with penicillin.
Treat it with penicillin.
Or, don't catch it in the first place. Use protection, everybody.
Yeah.
Like boxing gloves?
Yep.
Get out of here. Go on. Get.
for the drooling. Oh, wait.
Well,
I'm mixing up the cure and the disease.
It happens. Well, hey, that's all we have for today. So we do appreciate everyone listening, and we'd love to hear from all of you out there. If you'd like to send us a message or provide feedback, we can be reached through our website, www.poorhistorianspod.com. There you will find links to our social media sites. We take emails at poorhistorianspod@gmail.com, and we work to respond to all posts on our various social media accounts. If you have time, please go and leave us a nice 5-star review on whichever platform you choose. That does help our show grow, and it doesn't take much effort other than a bunch of clicking and pointing and writing and all that sort of thing. So, either way, if you're old-fashioned, send us a raven. I can't remember if I made that joke before.
Quote the raven nevermore.
You rhymed that. Anyway, I want to receive a raven from a fan. That'd be amazing. We no longer take carrier pigeons, so please stop asking. Until next time, the Poor Historians are signing out. AMA.
As featured in the Medical Council, Philadelphia.
Maybe you're fired?
As featured.
Yeah, that slight southern twang last time you did it. It was perfect.
Do you think they ever used emus to deliver messages or ostriches?
It's like a lot of bird.
You ride them? There's probably a post.
You can't ride an emu, but you could ride an ostrich. Well, maybe you could.
I'm fairly sure they delivered mail on chocobos in Final Fantasy.
On what?
Chocobos. The emu and or ostrich-like characters that are creatures in Final Fantasy. You can ride them.
Ostriches are kind of mean, though. So you'd have to catch them and put a thing on them without them kicking you. I think they kick. I don't know. I don't have an ostrich in my life.
No, they're huge.
Yeah, they're scary, man.
Mike, you're Australian, kind of, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you know about ostriches? Is that an Australian animal?
Everything. No. It's genus Burticus largicus. I don't know anything about ostriches, honestly. Swiss Family Robinson, they wrote them in that movie.
They're African. Yeah. Native to the savannas and Sahel of Africa.
Oh.
I don't know what a Sahel is.
I thought they were literally native to zoos.
One of the first Google questions is literally, do ostriches live in Australia?
Yes.
It does say a very small number of them also call outback South Australia home.
But
there you
the
go.
Australian ostrich would most likely be the emu. Or emu?
Yeah, it does. It was a failed attempt to farm them, and then they escaped and managed to survive.
Or cassowary? I think that's the mean emu.
I don't know, man. Aren't they all mean?
Do you guys agree that Final Fantasy is an overrated RPG?
Nobody knows anything about that game.
I don't have the standing to enter that argument space. I don't even.
I just saw an interview online. There was this lady this was from a couple years ago when Pokemon Go was pretty big. And she was apparently, it looks like she was talking to somebody in the news, and she was all ticked off because this guy, she was like, he came up and he mispronounced the names of all the Pokemon on purpose just to trigger me. And it was hilarious. And then he gets to Pikachu. He's like, that one's Pikachu. And she's like, he got Pikachu right just to tick me off. It was really funny, actually. And they're showing the pictures. Hilarious. He's like, that's dog shit. That's 3 dog shits. Apparently there's those little brown dwelling thing.
I was just too old by the time that Pokemon came out that it was not like part of my childhood, but I am of the firm belief that Breath of Fire is a way better RPG series than Final Fantasy.
Okay.
You
Fight
talk
me.
about losing audience members. So we would do it with the wrestling. It's almost like we're begging people not to listen.
You're
We
supposed
might
to
get
draw.
some gamers, right?
No,
I
we
guess.
start controversy, and then it becomes this huge flame war, and that is publicity.
Flamor?
Flame war. You know,
I just checked the camera to make sure you weren't wearing like kitty ears on your headphones.
Maybe we could talk about why Mace Windu's laser sword is purple.
Why is it purple?
Oh, did you know that for his laser sword they engraved BMF on it to personalize
Yes, I did
it?
see that article.
You see that? That was
Yes.
really cool. I think
That
it was
is
just
amazing.
BMF. I don't think they wrote out the whole thing.
We know what it means.
Yeah.
All right, let's call that a wrap on this episode.